Today's story is about a conman who created fake diaries in the name of Hitler and sold them to a publisher for $5 million. The shocking thing was that he wrote these diaries himself, copying Hitler's handwriting exactly, even years after Hitler's death. This turned out to be the biggest fraud in Germany's history, in which a publisher named Stern magazine had to bear a loss of millions of dollars. Because 500,000 copies of these diaries were printed and sold to the public. And that's why, after this scam was exposed, Stern magazine had to apologize to the people of Germany. So, who was this conman? What was in these diaries? How did he write them in such a way that even the biggest publishing houses were fooled? And how did the diaries reach the publishing house? This in itself is very astonishing. This is the story of a German conman named Konrad Kujau, who was born in the German city of Lobo. Konrad's father was a cobbler and also a big supporter of Hitler. At that time, Hitler's influence over Germany was so great that everyone, young or old, either feared him or was deeply influenced by him. Konrad was one of those children who was highly influenced by Hitler. Konrad's father died in 1944, after which he was sent to various children's homes. Those homes treated children very badly, which had a terrible impact on Konrad. Finally, in 1977, he ran away from there to West Germany, where he started working as a laborer. During this time, he met a man named Bruno, who also worked as a laborer. Alongside labor, Bruno also carried out small frauds and scams. Within a few days, Konrad and Bruno became close friends and decided to steal and con people together. Since childhood, Konrad had a deep interest in art and forgery. So together with Bruno, he started making fake lunch vouchers. These were vouchers that the German government gave in limited quantity to workers, so they could get a full meal. Using these fake vouchers, Konrad and Bruno ate well for 2 months without spending any money. The vouchers were made so perfectly that no one suspected they were fake. And since they worked as laborers, there was no reason for anyone to doubt them. Eventually, one day, they were caught using the fake vouchers and sentenced to 4 months in jail. After getting out of jail, Konrad decided he would now do something big. He had a strong interest in art, and he was quite skilled at making good paintings. But he had no personal painting style, nor was he famous. So he decided to copy Hitler's painting style. Very few people know that Hitler had a great passion for painting and had created around 2,000 paintings. Konrad knew this very well and thought he could earn good money by making fake paintings in Hitler's style. Since Hitler had died 13 years ago, and many Germans were eager to collect anything related to him, especially those who were once Nazi Party workers. Konrad took advantage of this. He skillfully made fake paintings in Hitler's style and sold them to many people. To make the paintings look old, he would pour tea on the paper, dry them, and then paint on them. Along with the paintings, he would also provide a fake certificate in the form of a letter claiming the painting was original. Because of this, people easily bought them. With these scams, Konrad was making enough money to live comfortably. But his greed and dreams were much bigger. Then came the year 1978. This was the year Konrad started writing diaries in Hitler's handwriting. It was believed that Hitler had written about every war and every crime in these diaries. To make these diaries, Konrad used the same old technique. He poured tea on the pages, dried them, and then started writing on them. He would even bang the diaries on furniture to make them look old and worn. He started writing the diaries using the 1935 Nazi yearbook as a reference. However, Konrad didn't know who he would sell them to or how. Then one day, a man named Gerd Heidemann knocked on his door. Heidemann was a collector who had a huge collection of items related to Hitler and the Nazi Party. He was so obsessed with Hitler and the Nazi Party that the moment he heard about anything related to them, he would rush to buy it. So when he learned about these diaries, he immediately went to Konrad. Heidemann was not only a collector but also a researcher for a German magazine, Stern. He was extremely thrilled and excited, thinking that these diaries could make him rich. Konrad was also very happy that he had finally found a buyer for his fake diaries. Conrad told Heidemann that these diaries were recovered by a Nazi army general after a World War plane crash, and that he had purchased them from that general. This is the same story Heidemann told the editors at Stern magazine. Hearing this, the editors of Stern were thrilled, thinking they had gotten their hands on extremely valuable diaries related to Hitler and history. They were so excited that they agreed to buy the diaries from Conrad for $5 million, without verifying their authenticity. This was Germany's biggest fraud ever, which Conrad had pulled off. Now, since the money had already been exchanged and Conrad had to hand over these diaries to Stern magazine within 2 days, he quickly rushed to finish the work on the last remaining diary. Because of the hurry, he completed the diary without fact-checking it, placed the Nazi Party's arrow ribbon on it, and sealed it with a red-colored wax seal. To make the diaries look more authentic, he also printed the initials of Adolf Hitler's name in gold color. As soon as they received the diaries, Stern magazine started selling their copyrights worldwide. They wanted to earn huge money from these diaries as soon as possible. Stern magazine first sold the rights to Rupert Murdoch's Sunday Times, a London-based newspaper. Sunday Times bought the rights from Stern magazine for a full $1 million. Although Sunday Times had earlier once bought the Mussolini diaries for $500,000 to publish, they turned out to be fake. But this time, before buying the Hitler diaries, they asked to verify them. To this, Stern magazine told them that chemical tests had been done on the pages of these diaries, which proved they were authentic, a huge lie that Stern magazine told Sunday Times. During the deal, a contract was signed between Stern magazine and Sunday Times, in which it was written that Sunday Times would not talk to anyone about the diaries before publishing them. And this was the very reason Sunday Times couldn't talk to anyone or get them verified. Now Sunday Times published the news about these diaries with a headline in their newspaper. The headline was, "An archive of great historical importance." And this turned out to be Sunday Times' biggest mistake. Along with the news, Sunday Times published photos of the diaries and their pages, which Conrad had written in Hitler's handwriting. Because after World War II, many ex-workers of the Nazi Party had settled in England. And as soon as they saw the handwriting and the diaries in Sunday Times, they immediately realized that these were fake diaries. They could recognize Hitler's handwriting, and what was written in the diaries did not match what they already knew. Soon the news spread like wildfire that Sunday Times had published fake Hitler diaries in their newspaper. Sunday Times had to stop printing and apologize publicly in the press. Afterward, Stern magazine asked Heidemann where he got the diaries. He said an unknown person had told him about a man named Conrad and that he had bought the diaries from him. Now the press and ex-Nazi workers started accusing Sunday Times and demanded an investigation into the diaries. When history experts began to investigate the diaries, they found that whatever was written in them was copied from a book called Chronicle of Dictatorship, which was already available to the public and not written by Hitler. It was also discovered that the handwriting was mimicked in Hitler's style, and the glue, paper, and ink used in the diaries were all from post-World War times, meaning the diaries were completely fake. More than half of the information in the diaries was proven false. Even the signatures of Hitler that Conrad had made were incorrect. Within just 2 weeks, the whole world knew these diaries were fake. Sunday Times had to apologize to the entire world through their newspaper, and their top editors had to resign. Then Sunday Times started demanding their money back from Stern magazine. In the interrogation with Heidemann, Conrad's name came up, after which police arrested both of them. But during questioning, both started blaming each other for writing the diaries. On one hand, Heidemann tried to convince the police that he didn't know the diaries were fake. On the other hand, Conrad told the police that Heidemann knew very well the diaries were fake because he had written them on Heidemann's request. When the police couldn't conclude who the real fraudster was, they filed fraud charges against both and sent them to jail. Later, the court sentenced Conrad to 4.5 years. Meanwhile, the money Stern magazine gave Heidemann for the diaries was recovered from a boat. Surprisingly, this boat once belonged to Nazi chief Hermann Göring, whose daughter was having an affair with Heidemann. Conrad also got out of jail in 3 years for good behavior, but by then, the whole world knew that he was the mastermind behind the fake diaries. And because of that, he became very famous. Now big newspapers and media houses started inviting Conra for interviews, and he began enjoying the fame he got by being a fraudster. These media houses also paid him good money to share his story. Conra had now become very famous, and people wanted to know more about him. Then he decided to open an art gallery in his name, where he would sell fake paintings as Conra forgery paintings. There, he made fake versions of famous painters' works and sold them under his name. Since Conra had become very famous, even though people knew the paintings were fake, they still bought them at high prices. This way, Conra started making a lot of money. Now his paintings carried a trademark, forged by Konrad Kujau, which people bought just because they were made by Conra. Although sometimes he faced small problems because of the paintings, he handled them by paying off the police. And finally, in the year 2000, he got stomach cancer, due to which he died in September 2000 at the age of 62. How did you like this story? Do write in the comments section. Like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.